forward.
I
think that's the worrying part for me, for you, for people that love just the sport. Because there's people that love sports just for the money. Like, they don't care about the players. And we're going to hear from Tyrese Halliburton. He had some poignant thoughts on sports betting and how it's kind of taken over this country and how people and fans, quote unquote, don't even look at him as a player anymore. They look at him as a prop.
Well, I mean,
it's just kind of sad.
I think you're hitting on something here. Like, and I love you, Guru, wherever you are. I know you're listening to this, but I can always tell when Guru has bet on something by how outraged he is the next morning.
Give me an example, please.
Well, I just know how he gets, right?
That's fine. Like, and if you like to gamble and stuff like that,
no doubt,
there you can do that. Listen, I grew up, Joe Shasky. My dad worked at a off-track betting location where you could bet on horses.
Wow.
Yes, the Monterey Race Place down in Monterey at the fairgrounds. Like, I would go in there, like, at doing my homework in the back, and my dad asked me, "Hey, I'll put $5 on so and so for you." Joe, sure. Yeah. Like, and I'd like, hey, trifecta, superfecta, all this sort of stuff. So gambling is a big part of my family because my dad worked in a gambling spot.
I didn't know that.
Horse racing, yes, which is obviously not as prevalent. Once used to be one of the biggest sports in our country, just like kind of boxing, right? It's kind of faded away here and there. You get the Kentucky Derby, stuff like that. But it's kind of like whatever for me. It's kind of just normal. Now, people that, in high school, going to colleges now. Like, I think of the college students, Joe Shasky. Could you imagine being in one of these states in college football and having juice on Alabama or something, and you're a college student, and your mom and dad are giving you money to do this, and you're putting, like, it's kind of crazy to think about. And you're a father now, and I'm a father. And not to get too serious, but it is also a serious topic. I kind of get worried.
Well, so, for example, I'm coaching basketball, and I remember maybe it was a year ago, and these kids were in 6th grade at the time. They're all in a fantasy football league together. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. Then the other side of me was like, how would I feel about my little guy already getting into fantasy football and all that? Like, on one level, yeah, it's cool because now they're engaged in football and we get to watch it together, right?
And it's fun to talk, like,
no doubt.
Like, the essence of sports gambling is very fun to dissect. How's this line moving? What's this
exactly
going? The over-unders, parlay, hey, so-and-so's receiving yards total, like, right? That stuff is fun. I love that.
But Joe, there's also the slippery slope. So, like, and I'm using an imperfect analogy here, but you'll hear certain families, they'll be like, I want my child to have their first alcoholic beverage with us here at our house. I want it to be safe, right? And teach them responsible drinking and stuff. Well, you can't account for what that child is going to do, no matter how good your intentions are. Mm-hmm. You don't know there's the metaphysical, combination,
how they will react.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what's the environment that they're going out into? Are they going to a party school, or are they just a troubled child, or anything in between? Or they have a one night occurrence where something wild happens that they're not a bad kid, but something wild happens and it's attached to alcohol. And so you can see how that thing can get off the tracks. And I do worry about my own son one day being in front of his iPad, because the iPad now, he's 4 months old. He's acutely aware of me and my wife watching the iPad while doing whatever, feeding him. I'm watching a Warrior game while feeding him. And his eyes are fixated on the bright lights of the iPad. He's 4 months old.
It is.
Imagine where he's going to be when he's 7 or 8. And, I mean, your kid's how old?
He's 4.
Okay. Is he iPad obsessed?
He likes that. My 1-year-old tries to grab my phone out of my hand.
Exactly.
Yes, because they see us doing it all the time.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. And I'm not here to, people that are going, like, we don't, in my family, I don't screen shame other parents and stuff like that.
Dude, I'm just doing the best I can.
Exactly. It's like, because there's this whole thing about screen shaming. Like,
I know.
Oh, you have your phone on they have the phone and you're in Target. I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I need a break. All right. Sorry. For one, like, my kid's watching Bluey. Sue me. Sesame Street. All right.
Kids watching.
What do you want me to download the DraftKings app? Is that better for him? Hey, Benny, place a parlay for your dad.
But I do know this, and there are lots of kids I coach in different sports who play Fortnite, and they will take the credit card of the parents and buy these things called skins. Those are in-game purchases for video games.
I did this when I was in 7th grade for World of Warcraft. I had a monthly subscription. I just take my mom and dad's credit card. And love you, mom and dad, if you're listening.
Similar to gambling, similar to drugs and alcohol, there's an addiction to the video games. I believe this. I'm addicted to video games. I'm a 41-year-old man, and I play video games, okay? And there's something, that I just like. I like playing video games. The point that I'm getting at is that these are slippery slopes and things get out of control. And I know kids who have spent lots of their parents' hard-earned money on stupid things within these video games. Imagine if they have access to these, gambling apps. And I hate just like, the children. But this is how the steroid thing got off track. And I go back to the steroid era,
you bring that
and
up. Yeah.
a lot of journalism's like, the children. And my pushback was always, well, this is an opportunity for the guardians, the parents, the, whatever, male or female influences in someone's life to step up and have real conversations. And that's the truth. Like, you got to have real conversations with your kids. I know one day I'm going to have to do it. And I do it with my nephews and nieces at times because they don't want to listen to their parents. But there is a real aspect of like, this does hit families' homes. And so I want to hear from various people out there, man. I don't know. Like, I want to laugh a little, but I also understand how serious this is. Like, we just talked with Matt Hegan, and he's pretty outspoken about it. Like, it's not a joke to him.
Yeah.
Gambling is real. He's addicted, and he does not find it funny at all. I laugh a little, but it's not a problem for me.
Exactly.
And I also don't want to be insensitive to people where it is a problem for them.
Absolutely. Hey, 1-800-GAMBLER.
Sorry, I'm rambling.
1-800-GAMBLER if you do have a problem out there. I feel like I should just say that. Antonio on 880 wants to join in the conversation. Real quick, we'll get to you, Antonio, but first from the Comcast Business text line.
Line them up.
408. In the grand scheme of things, Ohtani didn't do anything that bad. He didn't sell dope or kill anyone. He has to face whatever the consequences. If he bailed his boy out, I ain't mad at him. At least some people still have loyalty in this world. I actually kind of thought that, Joe, when we were talking about this, because a lot of people saw this and immediately linked Shohei has his fall guy in, sorry, I have to make sure I'm getting this name, Mizuhara, the interpreter who was fired from the Dodgers, who's very good friends with Shohei, who's the guy that allegedly incurred this debt. But I read that the same way. I read that at first. I was like, wow, Shohei's using his name, but he's covering for his boy right now. Like, I think there is sense of like a friendship there. His friend's having a problem, but you know what? I'll get you out of this, but maybe we need to get you some help. And they talked about that in the article. And this is clearly a problem for you. That's how I read it initially. Now, is that the truth? Is that not? I'm not sure. I am a benefit of the doubt kind of guy at first, but a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are more cynical. They know how the real world works.
Yeah.
And they read between the lines. Hey, listen, this guy, he's lying. He's the fall guy for him. And that may be. But right now, I have to take it from what I know. And right now, maybe he was just covering for his boy. Does that change anything for you, Joe, if that's the case?
I mean, what he did was, I guess, technically illegal. So does it change anything for me? I mean, I'm not outraged over it one way or the other, and I don't want to see him. As a fan of baseball, I want to watch Shohei Ohtani, but I also understand there are consequences in society. Like, the rules and regulations exist for a reason, right? Alcohol is legal, but you're not allowed to drink and drive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the new one that I see is like, weed is legal in California. Don't get high and drive. You see the signs everywhere now, right? Yep. So there are regulations and there are speed checks in place in society to curb this.
Oh, and trust me, when gambling becomes legal in California, it will eventually. You'll see it on signs there too. Not as much because you're driving and they don't want that, but those you'll see 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes.
1-800-GAMBLER.
But this again, I don't know anything. This is speculation. I'm reading between the lines, but it sure as hell feels like he was gambling through someone else. That's what it feels like.
Matt Nahigian, our program director, just handed this to me because he's playing a makeshift producer on the spot a little bit, and I help him. And Sam Lubman, man in the fort back there, doing a hell of a job. Appreciate you, Sam. He handed this to me of the American Gaming Association. A record 67.8 million American adults are expected to bet on this previous Super Bowl.
Wow.
35% increase from 2023, according to a new American Gaming Association survey. Bettors plan to wager an estimated $23.1 billion on this year's big game, up from $16 billion last year. That's just for the Super Bowl, Joe Shasky.
Incredible. Well,
I'm fascinated to see what goes on in the March Madness, which again starts today, and it's kind of poignant. We're having this discussion about a potential scandal involving Shohei Ohtani and illegal sports betting when it's the biggest betting day of the year for a lot of people.
And
thank you, America, baby.
To be
let's go.
Fully transparent here. Okay, fully transparent here. I'm not a big gambler. We were in Vegas on our way to the Super Bowl on game day. Mm-hmm. And what did me and Bonte do? And I'm admitting it.
You have to place a bet.
I placed money. I
you're
put
in
money down on
Vegas.
Christian McCaffrey
Yes.
to win MVP. I put money on Deebo Samuel to win MVP. And I put money on the 49ers to win the game outright, money line. And I lost.
As one does in Vegas.
He did.
That's tough for you, boy.
I lost all three of those. And I'm not going to disclose who else was out there betting.
You just sleep in a little Patrick Mahomes for MVP, right? I know the odds were that.
Sam, you were there waiting with us. Full sports book.
Stop going Jedi hood on us, Sam.
Full sports book,
picture,
correct?
by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, it's how could you not? That you're in Vegas for the biggest event, sports event of the year. Everyone was probably just like you. They probably had the same thought. I'm in Vegas. I kind of have
That's
to.
exactly what I was thinking. And literally, they have these little like Scantrons with the prop bets, and everyone looked like they were taking a test. Everyone looked like they were trying to do their SAT, thinking as hard as they possibly could, like, I'm going to win.
Hey, if there was like a parlay version or a sports gambling version in high school for you, boy, I'd probably be way better at that than whatever my political science class was. I'll just say that right now. If you find interest in something, you are going to go to it. The lengths people go when it comes to betting and information, we have channels about it. Our guy that used to work here, Joe Fortenbaugh, that's what he does over at ESPN now. All they're doing is looking at the advanced analytics, all these numbers, all these trends, everything. It's become a way of life for some. It is people's livelihoods. That's what they do. They talk sports betting. So it is pretty crazy. And more from this American Gaming Association article that Matt Nahigian gave me. 42.7 million American adults plan to place a traditional sports wager online at a retail sports book or with a bookie. That's up from 41% from 2023. And that was for the big game. That was for the Super Bowl.
Just the Super Bowl.
That's just casual people just like, whatever. 42.7 million.
Well, and there's something about it.
And you know, in America, this has been the norm for other countries, right? But in America, we do everything bigger. Everything is heightened 1,000%. So we can compare it a little bit to, like you were bringing up, Japan, places in Europe.
Well, there's different cultures.
There's different cultures for this. But in America, where this is kind of a new thing for sports betting everywhere, it's over the top.
Yeah.
There's Vegas, but not to this level where it's everywhere now.
Let me just also throw this at you. Like, this is something I've noticed in our house when it comes to DoorDash, Grubhub, things like that. When you have this thing, which I believe, I'm holding my iPhone up, this is the thing we're most addicted to, period.
Yep.
More than any other drug, alcohol, gambling. We are addicted to our screens. Would we all agree? Yep. Like, it's the most addictive thing in our lives. All of us, okay? And some more so than others. I realized that money I don't value the same way when I can just click, 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 and something can come. $7, $20, $50, $60. It used to be to get my check, I would get a physical check. I'd have to go to the bank. I'd have to put it in there. I'd get out the money. I'd count the money. I'd have to think about the money. And this, now it's Apple Pay. I swipe my watch. Let's go.
Yep.
And I'm talking about for me. I don't know about for others. I have become completely numb to all transactions. I can only imagine what a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 23-year-old who has only lived this life with this phone and the transactions being completely soulless and thoughtless. I can only imagine what the spending habits look like. Do you get where I'm going?
No, I totally do. And real quick, from the 512 on the Comcast Business text line, 888-957-9570, Warriors had a great win. Kuminga went off. Was
it a great win?
Hold on. Kuminga went off, and we're talking about a Dodgers player in the MLB that said they're not going to investigate. What's going on, guys? Well, they're not currently investigating what's going on just yet. Doesn't mean they won't. And I would be shocked if Major League Baseball did not investigate this with the Dodgers. Doesn't mean they're not going to. So we'll see. They beat a team they were supposed to beat. They crushed them. They're still in the 10th spot. Great. Do it again against the Pacers. This is the biggest story in sports right now. What's going on with Shohei Ohtani? And listen, if you want to talk Warriors, that's great. 888-957-9570. But I think this is the story that people are fascinated by. This is your rival. If you're the San Francisco Giants, this guy you were trying to talk to and poach over. You're trying to get him. And then he said, no, I'm good. I'm going to go to the Dodgers.
Thank God they don't have to deal with this. Because this cloud's going to be over the Dodgers all year.
That's another thing.
All year.
Think of all the things that the Dodgers have had hung over them in recent years. Trevor Bauer.
Oh, I totally forgot about
Julio Urias.
Yes.
That guy, he's gone.
Yes.
He gone. Now Shohei, and I'm not comparing this gambling to the seriousness of those other allegations and what went on over there with domestic violence, But this is another level of the integrity of the sport potentially becoming a question for the face of your league, and that is a big deal. This is if LeBron James or Stephen Curry
Of their sport. Yes. Patrick Mahomes.
or Patrick Mahomes, and there was any sniff or allegations of him making bets illegally. That's a big deal.
Oh, it'd be huge.
Huge.
And again, I hate to do it, but as a new father, I keep coming back to,
No.
what is this going to look like for my kid 10 years from now?
Yes. Antonio, 880. What's going on, man? You're on the Morning Roast with Spadoni and Chasky.
Actually, I'm currently already in the city. You guys just have me on hold for a minute.
Sorry.
Also, shout out. I'm a math and science teacher at KIPP
nice.
today, and just inside the film, and so I know some numbers.
Science,
And,
you said? Science?
It's math and science.
Math and science. Okay, there we go.
So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We all kind of have a degenerate friend, and we do support them and some of those questions they ask us, who's playing who and all that. And it's pretty obvious. His interpreter was playing, and he probably may or may not, allegedly, probably had a little, say, like, probably had some info on who's playing today, who's not, what's the lineup. I assume the debt just got so big, and he paid it. Ohtani didn't officially fire him. The Dodgers made him fire him. So it's pretty obvious he wasn't going to fire his interpreter. The Dodgers made him do it. So, and he gambled. I'm not against it, but, we're not all Calvin Ridley out here, making bets on everything. So, but, it's gambling stuff, and they're still human. They really don't view themselves as just athletes. They view themselves as, I want to do this. They want to be a regular guy. Just, you just happen to be worth $700 million.
Antonio, real quick before you go, do you teach in high school, you said?
I teach at KIPP. It's a middle school. So
Middle school, okay.
I got
Okay,
fifth graders.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it.
So Malik, Sky, Dante, all my guys, they also play basketball. These kids are the future, and they are a little addicted to the iPad, by the way.
Dude, right?
I'll tell you that.
Well,
The Fortnite on free time is ridiculous. I get them off it. We do a lot of math games. So that's the only way to counteract that.
I
And they'll get that DraftKings act in a couple of years. Thanks, Antonio.
That's like I'm looking at a tweet here that has like 100,000 likes, and this is a joke. It's a satire.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Center, presented by ESPN Bet. For more on the Ohtani situation, we go to our FanDuel MLB insider, Jeff Passan, in the DraftKings studio in Los Angeles, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. Jeff, how could something like this happen? End of quote. It's a great tweet.
It is. It is.
I mean, it's a joke, but the amount of truth in it is almost, it's kind of not a joke.
It's crazy. Grant Brisbee covers the Giants.
Yes.
Had a great one last night on X. There's nothing worse for baseball than gambling. That's what I've always said. And that's what I'll say when I'm podcasting the DraftKings Sports Podcast booth in the Luxor level of the Las Vegas A's Stadium. Like, that's the thing in all this, too.
I know.
That there's potentially the face of your league get involved in this scandal, and you're just moving a team over to Vegas. It writes itself. And John Fisher and Dave Campbell.
But here's the thing. Here's why it is serious, though. There has to be regulation on some level to maintain the integrity for the consumer that is the average consumer that's betting, and the average consumer that's paying for these tickets wants to know things are on the up and up.
Yep.
That's to me, that's a distinction that you have to point out.